I think we did it. I think we did it. I think we're actually here live now. Can we have Johnny Roman with us? Is that possible? There he is.
There we go. All
You
right.
made it. Okay. First of all, our apologies for the delay. We had some technical difficulties. These things happen. Welcome to the first of 4 cfJ Coaching Success School lives. We made it. You've probably been waiting, but it's so good. It'll be so worth the wait. Let me just share that with you. So thank you for sticking with us. And I'm going to introduce Mr. Johnny Roman. Many of you know Johnny. He was the executive director for 4 years. He still is. However, his role has expanded considerably because he is now one of the lead faculty members. Johnny Roman, so glad you are here.
Thank you. I love being here. I love doing these lives, and I love being part of the school and now faculty. As I was sharing earlier before we went live, I was a student at the school for 2 years, and it had a tremendous impact on me as a person, as a coach, and on my business. And so to be able to serve the coaches in a faculty capacity and as the director is a real honor for me. So I'm thrilled to be here.
Glad you're here. So people, let us know you're here. Say hello in the comments so that we know. But we do know it's live, right? Because we saw it, right, Johnny? Did you see us in the feeds?
Yep. I see us.
Okay.
We are in Facebook. We're good.
All right. And we're live on LinkedIn. We did it. And again, our apologies. We said a lot of this. You just didn't hear it because we didn't know that it wasn't working. So our apologies. And now let's get going. And we will give you a little extra time just because, that's the kind of people we are. And I want to start with a question. This is a really important question. It's not a coaching question, and it's a really important question nonetheless. It's a would you rather question. Are you ready for it? And I'll say it first, and then we're going to show it to you. So here's the question. Would you rather go to jail for 1 week or live with your parents for 1 year? Would you rather go to jail for 1 week or live with your parents for 1 year? That's what we really want to know. That's what this whole show was about, because the roadblocks to financial success, this is a part of it. So give us your answer in the comments. Would you rather go to jail for 1 week or live with your parents for 1 year? I'm not seeing any answers yet, Johnny. Are you?
Yeah, I am on Facebook. We've got Corey with jail, Inez live with my parents for a year, James go to jail, Susan parents for a year, Lisa parents 100%.
All right.
Jail. Oh, we've got a mix. Amrita parents.
All right. I love it.
I definitely choose parents for sure.
You choose parents. So just so everybody knows, I chose my parents to the shock of my fitness coach, who gets credit for the question because she asked us all this morning. She was like, your parents? And I said, look, my parents are both gone. So my fondness for them has increased, just so you know. So like, I would do it because I could go to the Dunkin' Donuts down the street. I can leave. Jail for a week? I can't leave. So I can't get a coffee, all the things I love. So yes, I would choose my parents for 1 whole week. And Moshe chose jail. I hear you. All right. So now I'm starting to see the comments and we want to get going. So today is about the 4 roadblocks to financial success and the antidotes. So we want to give you the antidotes too, not just the roadblocks. And because we're like so generous and service minded, we have 4 inner roadblocks and 4 outer roadblocks, right? So, one of the things we do at the school all the time is we talk about what's inside that's blocking us, and then what's outside that's blocking us from financial success. So I want to share about this phrase that I actually learned in a spiritual workshop through my husband, who's actually our digital media director. He's directing us today. Thank God for him. So he did a workshop and he shared it with me, and I thought, wow, this is great. It really applies to in the context of building your business. So I'm going to share it. So everybody knows about paying the rent, right? Everybody pays rent, or we pay a mortgage, but we're going to talk about it in terms of paying rent. All right. So rent, the first one is R. Can anyone guess what that is while I cough? What does R stand for? So one of the inner roadblocks in terms of paying rent, the first one, R, is resistance. It's resistance. Okay. So as we share these inner roadblocks, see, this is where it gets real. We all deal with them. As Stephen Pressfield says, resistance is like gravity. We all deal with it. So it's not like, oh, I'm special, I'm the only one who deals with resistance. We all deal with resistance, right? So resistance can show up like procrastinating. It can show up like not doing stuff at all. It can show up like avoidance. And it can show up like anything looks better. Doing anything is better than what I need to do for my business. So resistance is the first one. Johnny, do you want to say anything? Any good examples of resistance for you?
Of what it looks like for me? Procrastination, avoidance, keeping my head down in public, not sending out an invitation, or just waiting days to respond or follow up. Like, I mean, it shows up in many, many, many ways, and usually with like really good reasons to, fold my laundry or do my dishes or something like that. Anything.
Totally.
Sit down and actually do the work.
Totally. So resistance, if you're dealing with this right now, you can just raise your hand in the comments or just say, yep, me, resistance, dealing with it. You're like everybody else. That's the great part. We all deal with it. The second one, in terms of paying the rent, is ego pushback. Ego pushback. That's the second one in paying the rent. So ego pushback is like, let me give you my example that I hear a lot. It's like, oh, I was really meant to do this in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. So therefore, giving a webinar or a talk for 2 or 3, why would I do that? That's not my calling. I'm meant to be in front of hundreds of people. So ego pushback can look like that. Johnny, do you have any other thoughts on the ways ego pushback can show up? And then we're going to ask you all a question.
Yeah, like it shouldn't be this hard for me, or it shouldn't be like lots of shoulds. Like I should be able to do this a lot easier. Or people should come to me because I'm such a great coach, or, people should be knocking down my door, like things like that, where it's all this sort of, it's sort of like a defensiveness, but in the position of, oh, like I'm actually better than I think I am, or something.
Totally. And by the way, your wife said she loves when your resistance comes in the form of doing dishes or laundry. I love it. Thank you, Elsie.
Sure.
I'm totally with you. I get it. So, okay. So resistance and ego pushback. So we're going to go through the 4 inner roadblocks, and then we're going to give you the antidotes. So the next one, and you can say, yep, I've got R and I've got E. I've got a combo. You can have both. We can have all of these happening at the same time. So the N, ready? Negative self-talk, negativity, N, negative self-talk. So, look, I could share about my own prior negative self-talk all day long. Johnny could give us, I don't know, at least a couple days worth, I'm guessing. So negative self-talk is all about like, I'm not any good at this. Nobody would want to work with me. look at us, we just messed up. What's wrong with us? What about for you, Johnny?
Yeah. Like, who am I? Like, there's no way. Why would they ever want to talk to me? I'm not good enough. Not a good enough coach. I messed up again, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So, okay. So we've got R, we've got E, and we've got N. You ready for T? You ready for the T? I love the T. Okay. So the T is temptation or distraction. Temptation or distraction. Okay. So I have a very short answer for this. You ready? It's the phones. It's the phones, people. It's always the phones. It's always going to be the phones. The phones are the distraction. They've been designed to do it. I don't care what, is happening in your world. Everybody is distracted by their phones. Everybody. The phones. Thank you, John Jones. It's the phones. Look at that. So, agree, Johnny Roman?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's many others I can add to the list, and that's at the top for sure.
What else you got for distraction or temptation?
Dishes and laundry, obviously.
I don't see those as tempting. I'm in the wrong body, clearly. I don't see those
when the pile is high enough, it's tempting.
Got it. All right. So this is called paying the rent. You got to pay the rent, right? That's just what happens. All of this is a given. We want to stop acting like something's wrong with us when this occurs, when resistance occurs, when ego pushback occurs, when negative self-talk occurs, and when temptation occurs. We just want to be like, okay, I'm paying the rent. What do I have to do to turn that around? And my answer, and Johnny's going to answer too, it might feel a little boring or not very glamorous. I love what Stephen Pressfield says. Stephen Pressfield says, resistance is always lying and it's always full of shit. It's always lying and it's always full of shit. I don't know if that'll be bleeped out. Maybe I'll be taken off Facebook for that. It's always lying. So resistance is like gravity. We all deal with it. The antidote, and I love this quote so much, the end of his quote, it's a Stephen Pressfield quote too. And he says, the second we sit down and do our work is when we say goodbye. It's like, that's the hardest part, is sitting down to do the work and getting started. So what I want to say to you all is like, look, resistance is like gravity. All we need to do is go, okay, I'm in resistance. It's happening. I'm going to sit down and do some work. I'm just going to sit down. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to buy into the narrative of resistance. Is there anything you want to say about that, Johnny?
Yeah, this is where systems really comes into play, like having a clear system around what does it look like for you to do the work? What are the boundaries you create around your time? What time are you getting to your computer or your desk or whatever, and just having that clarity, right? So that there's not a lot of questions. Am I going to sit down on my computer today? Am I not? All of that kind of stuff. We want to, as much as possible, streamline the system so that it becomes a lot more just natural. It's sort of, no, this is what I do, right? And then regardless of whether or not I feel like it. And I think it's easy to do that if you have a client scheduled, right? No, I'm going to be there. And can you expand that system for doing the actual work on your business, so that it's not just when you have clients, it's like, no, I'm going to be there at 9, or I'm going to be there at 8, or whatever it is. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I have found that to be very helpful.
I so appreciate that, Johnny. And I think it's really important that I want to highlight Johnny's answer again, because it really is the answer to all of these. It's the antidote to all of these. I'm going to share a little more specifically, but he said it's having a system. That's the thing. All of rent is resolved if I have a system. So resistance is solved by having a system of knowing what I'm going to do today. Do you have a system of like, okay, I know what I do when I serve clients. I know I have to show up for the session, but what about outside the session? Do you have a system? And we want to know. So if you're like here with us and you've never been to any cfJ Coaching Success School Live, or don't even know Johnny and I, if you're like, I don't know even what a kind of system for new business would be, don't be shy. You can put in the comments, I have no system. There will be no judgment or shaming here, because we all had no system until we had one, right? I didn't have a system until I started getting coached by Steve Chandler. Johnny, I don't even know, Johnny, would you say that you started to get a system when?
Once I was in the CFJ school, because that, pre CFJ school, I would say I was a bit of a dabbler. I ran my business off hope. I wish and I hope and I wonder, and then like the structure, being given structure in the school, having reports and tracking that I had to track my connections and invitations and all of that kind of stuff like that. That started to create a system for me so that I really understood what it meant to have my butt in the seat, as I think Stephen Pressfield talks about. It's like part of his system is butt in seat.
Yep.
No matter what, he's going to sit down in his chair and start writing. And so that's when that context really started to develop for me as I made the shift from part-time kind of wish, hope kind of coach to professional coach during my first year at the school.
Yeah, I hear you. And Ken, I see not much system, and Liz, half system. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I appreciate that honesty. I want to talk a little bit about the antidote to the ego, right? Because the ego is another game, right? Like, oh, I'm meant to do bigger things. I shouldn't have to. And this is where having a way to come out of more ego-centered thinking is super helpful. So meaning, like, I can identify when I'm having ego-centered thoughts, when I'm like, oh, like, I don't want to have to do that. I've already done that for so many years. Why do I still have to do that? I just had this conversation with Steve Chandler, right? And I knew it. The words were coming out of my mouth, and I was like, ego-centered thinking. And the way out is through seeing it all as precious and sacred, and as, you know what, like, putting in the work no matter what has value. So when I'm in ego-centered thinking, my number one job is to convert into what I call soul-centered thinking, right? It's like, well, wait a second. I don't want to come from ego. I want to come from a deeper place inside, or heart-centered thinking, right? So knowing when you're in ego-centered thinking is part of the antidote. Like, you got to pull yourself out of that. That's illusions and delusions of grandeur, right? It's like, all the most successful coaches I know, Johnny Roman's one of them. He put in the work every single day, and he showed up and he dealt with the rent every day, and he dealt with all the internal stuff. All the roadblocks had to get cleared away so that he could create more and more success for himself. So ego pushback. We need to know and recognize when we're in ego-centered thinking. Are you laughing? Is someone?
I know. I say, I don't know about every day. There were days, especially in the beginning. I would say it's now, much more consistent. And in the beginning, it was bumpier, right? I had a lot more resistance that I had to work with and work through.
Yes.
And sometimes it got the better of me, and other times it didn't. And it was like a consistent practice of managing the rent over time. That's right. Strengthened my relationship with it.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about negative self-talk, and please put in the chat, like, negative self-talk, 1 to 10. Are you at a 10 in negative self-talk? Have you mastered negative self-talk? If you're like, no, I'm now at a 1, right? I feel like I've learned to internalize and speak to myself in ways that are encouraging and self-supportive, right? So let us know where you're at, because this can be a huge inner roadblock for people, right? When we have low inner self-esteem and low self-concept, and we're constantly running a radio station of, you're not good at this, why bother? I don't know why you're even doing this. Who cares about your system? Those kinds of things, that kind of inner self-talk. 9, I love 9. 4 at self-talk. Okay. PhD, Caitlin, PhD in negative self-talk. Okay. So I think you've mastered it. I think you're good. I don't think you need to go any higher in your credentials of negative self-talk. So what's the antidote to negative self-talk? The only antidote I know is learning how, bit by bit, by baby step, speaking to oneself inside in a way that has more encouragement, more loving, more compassion. And I like to say this to people. We all have a voice of loving inside, every single one of us. And when someone says to me, yeah, but I'm just not good at this, I'll say to them, is that the voice of loving? Is it? Most 99.9 times out of 10, they immediately go, no, because the voice of loving would never talk to us this way. It just wouldn't. Now, some of us have a lot of noise around the voice of loving that we need to learn how to put, we keep turning on that channel, and we need to learn how to turn on the channel and cultivate the voice of loving inside. And that's practice. So that's just what Johnny said. It's bumpy and it's practice. If I hadn't attended the University of Santa Monica and I didn't have a coach, my own negative self-talk would still be running amok. So the only reason that's gotten much more handled and healed is because I've done a lot of work on it. And I know that's true for Johnny. So self-forgiveness, Alexander, thank you for sharing, right? It's compassionate self-forgiveness is an incredible tool. It's originated at the University of Santa Monica. I use it a lot. I know Johnny does. We want to learn how to dissolve the negative self-talk. Is there anything you want to say about that, Johnny?
Yeah. One of besides self-forgiveness and being gentler with myself and having more compassion and all of that, one of the things that I started to do, part of this was because of Steve Chandler and it started even a little bit before working with him, getting suspicious about my negative thoughts, really starting to question, wait a minute, is that really true? Part of that's rooted in the work of Byron Katie. But it's I used to believe the negative thoughts hook, line, and sinker. There was no room for hardly any doubt. It would require a significant push to kind of get a wedge in there and create some separation from it and start to question it. And over time, it started to get a lot easier to get suspicious about, wait, is that really true? That's a really crappy thought. Is that really true? Am I going to really hang my hat on that thought? Or can I start to create some distance from that and start to think, well, if that is one piece of truth, could there be another one, a more supportive one that could be as true or truer? And as a way of just giving myself permission to consider that there were other even possibilities. Because in the past, I wasn't able to even consider other possibilities. And then now I have a fairly healthy suspicion around my negative self-talk. That is very helpful for me.
Yeah, I love that idea of get suspicious. So that would be another key, another antidote. Get suspicious when you're in a stream of negative self-talk, right? Be willing to get curious about it. I love that, Johnny. I think that's super helpful. So negative self-talk, right? So again, all part of paying the rent, right? So not unusual. It's supernatural. We all deal with it. James Porter, I totally see you being at a 7 and getting better at negative self-talk. One of the things, what I appreciate is that when I both was at the University of Santa Monica and being coached by Steve and being just around other coaches and people, right? That's one of the benefits of being in community, whatever community you're in, whether it's a school, a group, whatever you're doing, is that everyone around us can help us get suspicious too, right? Everyone around us helps us get suspicious around, really? Is that really accurate, right? Really? You're really terrible at this, Carolyn? And I'll get challenged. That's not true. And it's helpful to hear other people reflect to me wow, that's a line of BS. That is just not accurate. So thank you for that, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I see Cheryl, NLP, super. That's a super way to get some of that negative self-talk dissolved and diminished and worked with, right? So the last one, we're going to talk for a few minutes about temptation and distraction, right? The phones, people, it's the phones. So the antidote for the phones, I'll talk about the phones, and then Johnny, you can talk about whatever other baby distractions are out there, right? My point of view is the phones are the massive distraction in the universe. One thing we're going to be taking on at the cfJ school this year, and I invite you to take it on for yourself, is we are going to be tracking phone use in a very specific way. So we're going to be in the monthly reports that coaches submit. We're going to be including where coaches are going to enter, you have this thing on your phone called, like, there's a phone tracking where you can see how much you've been on your phone and you can see how much you've been online. It's terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying and super useful. So the coaches in the school are going to start to track this, and then they're going to give their own ratio of scrolling to serving, because unfortunately our phones can't dial in that much. They don't really know the difference. All our phones care about is that we're on them, right? Is that we're on them, right? So can I send the report via my phone? Somebody asked that. Maybe on YouTube, Johnny? I don't know. I don't understand the question. So whoever asked it, give us a little more detail. So here's the deal. So we're going to track it. And every month they're going to turn in every week. Here's what my phone usage was. And here's the ratio of scrolling to serving. But you don't need to wait. You could start doing that right now. I mean, I could ask Johnny, like, let me give you I'm going to put him on the spot, but I'm going to do it too. If I were to say in the last week, my ratio of scrolling to serving, well, because we have this coming up, I'll give myself more credit. Maybe my ratio was 60-40, like 60 serving, 40 scrolling. That's still a lot. I mean, that's not great, people. So I am outing myself and revealing myself. You all can put in the chat what your ratio, Johnny, if you had to give yourself a ratio in the last week, what would you do?
I mean, what came up for me was like 70-30.
70 scroll?
70 scroll, 30. And so there are some nights where I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my brain, I just want to turn. The baby has a phone.
The baby has the
That's
phone.
right. That's right. It's because she steals it from me. That's right. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's a I don't always I don't always see a distraction in a negative, because sometimes my inner world can feel overwhelming, and it's actually beneficial at times to have a way of just kind of stepping away from that. Now, in the past, that used to turn to self-abusive sort of behaviors and things like that, which I don't engage in anymore. Alcohol, drugs, etc., food, those kinds of things. And so, occasionally I think it's okay on some level, and I'm very mindful of it not impacting my ability to be in my business, to serve, etc. And there's a lot of work and opportunity for me.
Yeah, there is for all of us. So look, Johnny and I are being very self-revealing, and I'm seeing other people start to post. It's sobering is a great, somebody that was, who was that? Somebody said it was sobering. A great question from LinkedIn, wondering how much temptation distraction is a symptom of the other three. And that's really what Johnny was talking about, right? So we're using the distraction as a way to avoid, get away from, the other stuff, the negative self-talk, the ego pushback, and the resistance, right? Like, phones are a great quote unquote solution in the moment, but they're not. So we're going to be tracking that. And the thing that is the antidote is called breaking up with your phone. There's a book, How to Break Up with Your Phone. We're going to use it in the school. You can use it on your own. I love the idea of breaking up with our phones, and it's vital if you want to grow your business more effectively, right? So look, people are saying 90 scroll, 10% serving, 80-20, 50-50, 70-30. Imagine what could occur if you flip the numbers. If you flip the numbers and are serving more than you're scrolling, imagine what might occur in your business. So this is huge. And so we're taking it on. So, because I'm no longer okay that the phones are grabbing and yanking me around in ways that aren't in service to me personally or professionally. And so we're going to take it on at the school. I invite you to take it on for real. And reporting it to someone is really what gets it real, right? If the coaches know they're going to submit that in their report, just knowing someone's going to look at it is going to make a difference, right? It's going to diminish it. So I invite you, right, to be like, how do I get someone to look at this for me so I get accountable? Accountability is an incredible system. It's an incredible system. It really works. All right.
Yeah, my wife found a little device called a brick that you have to scan with your phone, and then it'll lock the majority of the apps on your phone. And the only way to unlock it is to rescan. So you have this little device, keep it on the fridge or something like that. And admittedly, she's used it more than I have used it, and it's been amazing to, create that. And I think even more effective will be knowing that someone's going to look at my numbers, or that I'm going to have to reveal my numbers. Even more impactful, because that will create an inner blocker, so to speak, right?
Right.
It will start to really kind of question and in a way do it for myself, knowing that accountability is waiting.
Agreed. And look, the phones, we didn't do anything wrong. They're designed to be addictive. They're designed to pull us away from our actual lives into this digital life, right? So it's not like we're like, oh, I'm weak. Something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with you. It's not. There's nothing wrong. And it does take consciousness to start to build a different system where you can flip those numbers, right? So, and I love that there's tools to help us combat the phone, and I'm a fan. And getting conscious in terms of the time we're putting into our phones versus into our business is vital. It's vital. So that is paying the rent. Those are the 4 inner roadblocks to financial success. We all deal with them. The antidote, the massive antidote that Johnny provided us is a system that you use, and a system for how each and every one. You could have individual systems for resistance, ego pushback, negative self-talk, and temptation. But the overarching antidote is systems, right? Systems keep us on track, right? We talk about that all the time. And your system for how you get stuff done is going to matter. So we're going to talk about that. Johnny, shall we move to the 4 outer roadblocks to financial success?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. 4 outer roadblocks. All right. So, surprise, surprise. The first outer roadblock is not having a daily system of things you need to do in your business, right? So the outer roadblocks, first one, not having a system for knowing what you need to do every day. I can't tell you how many coaches show up at the school and they're like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like when I'm not with a client, right? Nothing, like, I appreciate that kind of honesty, but it's like, we need systems for this, right? So one of the things I will often say to the coaches is like, hey, are you writing to people you already know that you think you could help? Do you have a system for like, oh, there are 5 people I want to write to today. I know that somebody is up to a new business in digital media, and I know them. Like, I knew them from my college. They just talked about, thank you, get a system. They just talked about this. Like, I could write to them and see how it's going, right? Like, we need to have systems in place for capturing people in our lives that are up to things that we think we might be able to help with. So that's one system. My system for that is social media, right? That doesn't have to be your system. But I like social media to be like, ooh, that's how Johnny Roman ended up as a student in the school. He posted that he was launching his coaching business, right? So that's how I knew. So social media is a great tool for seeing what people in your world are up to. Now, seeing it and just scrolling by it is not the answer. You actually have to do something. So you have to have a system in place for like, how do I know what people in my world are up to? And how do I stay connected to them? And then what do I do with that? So do I have an action for what I do with that? Do I have a system, right? Especially when we're in the first 1 to 3 years, we may not have so many referrals that we don't even need to do this. So having a system of what you're going to do every day. I mean, I used to literally be like, I'm going to scroll on Facebook because LinkedIn wasn't around, or if it was, I didn't know about it, for like half an hour. And I'm going to capture 3 names of people that said they're up to stuff. And I'm going to message them. And I'm going to be like, hey, Johnny, you posted about your coaching practice. That's amazing. Good for you. How does that feel? That's all I'm going to say. If you notice, I'm not like, let's talk. I could help you. I don't do any of that. I'm just like, how does that feel? That's so exciting. Right? So that was my system. Sometimes it still is my system when I see people up to stuff on social media. And I could be doing that every day. I don't need to anymore, but I could. Johnny, do you want to talk a little bit about your early systems and maybe what they might be now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my biggest systems. Well, first of all, my calendar is my system, right? It's like it is the way that I think about my day. It's the way I think about my like the structure of my day and how to keep me on track and on task. So I'm always thinking about like my butt is in my seat or some like I'm on in sort of the professional capacity essentially between 9 and 4. Like there's some fluctuation in that, and that is just a helpful barometer for me to be like, okay, this is professional time, and then I can do different things inside of that. So one of the systems is joining programs. I love to join programs, and that's a good way for me to connect. I'm joining one in the fall, a local leadership thing here where there's going to be a lot of opportunity for me to connect with people, et cetera. So I like that. That's very helpful for me, especially if it's something I can do over time. I mean, the cfJ school for me was a system that got me into conversation with people. That was really helpful, right? It was other coaches, and referrals got created from that, from those kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
And
can I say one thing, Johnny?
Sure.
Johnny's like the king of joining programs. So like he's the king. Okay. This guy is he is like a program joiner extraordinaire. So and I say that because, and Johnny, by the way, like he doesn't use social media in the ways that I might, right? He doesn't want to, he has no interest in it. Rarely does he post unless I'm like, Johnny, can you post this? And he has a super successful business now climbing above 300K. Is that accurate?
I mean, we'll see by the end of the year. And yes, that I'm on track for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So remember, he does not use social media. That's not part of his system. And I love that our director, Johnny Jones, is asking, what is your system? Let us know in the comments, or let us know. This is a foreign language you speak of. Systems? What are systems? I have no idea. So we just gave examples of 2 systems of like, if I don't have something to do, that's what I can go do, right? If I'm like, oh, I have 3 client sessions and I have like 2 hours, what am I going to do that's in service to growing my business? Johnny's answer is like, I join programs because that's how I can meet people and connect. And my answer is, I want to see what people are up to on social media. But the system has to include reaching out and acknowledging them and connecting and starting a gentle conversation. So tell us what your systems are or lack thereof. And Johnny mentioned something else, having a coach or belonging to a school or a group for coaches is a system, right? There's so much to be said for being, the phrase locked in. My daughter now, her friends all use it. She's 17. Like, Mom, I got to lock in. I have to lock in. And what I love, even though the idea of being locked in might feel uncomfortable, locking into systems feels so extraordinary. It's like, I feel safe. I feel like I'm in a container. I feel like I know what to do. So we're getting some answers, Johnny. Getting things done from David Allen, definitely great system. Calendar, beautiful system. Brandon, love seeing at least 2 invites a week. So that's your system, right? I'm going to get out 2 invites a week. That's a fabulous system. And Ines, you're right. There's so much freedom in structure. Paula, all the way from Ireland. calendar tasks. That's another way to use the calendar, right? That can totally be your system. But that is a financial roadblock. I want to be super clear, everyone. If you don't know what you're doing every day, that's a roadblock to financial success. And that has to get handled. And the answer is in getting a system and take other people's systems, right? Like Johnny, grab his, do what he does, do what I do. You don't need to have an incredible system or a perfect one. You just need to start using one and then it will evolve. So don't think you have to create the newest and best system there ever was on the planet and that it needs to be super creative. Know your system. And my system also personally includes getting out and getting fresh air, working out, walking to get my coffee. All those things keep me in this system of being uplifted. Being uplifted is really important as part of our system, right? Danuk, number of connections per week. I love that that's part of your system. That's fabulous. So way to go. Getting better at paying the rent will lead to doing the system. Well done, Moshe. Well done. Agreed. All right. Should we talk about the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So the next one is confusing thinking with action. So the next financial roadblock, the outer roadblock, is confusing thinking with action. Now you might think, but Carolyn, that's more of an inner roadblock, but it's not, because action is the way. The only way a coaching business grows is through action. I don't care, at least in the beginning, I don't even care if you're taking what you might find out later wasn't useful action, right? Because sometimes we do stuff and we're like, well, that landed nowhere. That's totally fine, right? That's how we learn. That's how we get messy. But action versus this thing up here where we're like thinking about all the things and all the things we're going to do and all the ways we could grow our business. I cannot tell you, be an action hero. Wow. There you go. Look at that creativity right there. See, that's a system. Be your own hero and take action, right? That just made me laugh. That's my husband behind the scenes. So I'm sorry, but that when he does that stuff, it always catches my attention. So action is one of those things that our businesses will rise and fall. Anytime I talk to a coach and they're like, my business isn't growing or it's not growing at the level I need or want it to, we have to look at your calendar and we have to look at what you're up to. And 95% of the time, it's not that they're taking so much action and it's the wrong actions. It's that they're not taking enough action.
I definitely choose parents for.
They're not taking enough action. So to me, thinking is a roadblock to financial success. Doing is the antidote. Doing is the antidote. Johnny, do you want to talk about that a little bit? And for you?
Yeah, I want to add a sort of money making action, like actions that are directly related to potentially creating business and money. And as an example, I was talking with a coach last year, and we were talking about I think number of hours that she was investing into her business, growing her business each week. And she like broke it down for me. And a good chunk, let's say it was 30 hours in the week or something that she divided up. And like 10 or 12 of them was in being in like an educational, like certification program or something like that, which is great. I mean, there's very valuable in that, right? In being in the education. And I helped her create the distinction for her that, yes, that's great action. And that's not necessarily money-making action. It's not necessarily going to lead in and of itself, right? Like maybe there's connections that can come and you can create conversation with other people in a program like that. Just watching the videos or joining the calls or whatever in and of itself is not that. So is it really 10 to 12 hours of business growth action? Or is it really like maybe 30 minutes of, and the rest is going towards your own education? Again, not a bad thing. I love educating myself and all of that. Yeah, Danuk, income producing activities. Exactly. So I just want to kind of make that distinction, and so that you can kind of audit the action that you're taking, because sometimes we can be in action and really believe that we're taking action for our business, and yet it's not necessarily the action, or we may be fooling ourselves in that it's not necessarily an income producing activity.
Exactly. First of all, that's such a great distinction, right? It's like business producing activities or action versus non-money producing activities and action, right? That's a really big distinction. And doing an action audit can be one of the best things you can do, right? Because you're like, yes, I'm an action hero. Look how much action I take. And then having a coach look at it and having someone like Johnny, or we do it in the school all the time, go, what is this action? And they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm that's my coffee that I have every week with my coaching colleagues. And we talk about coaching. That's not a money producing activity. I love hanging out with coaches and I love my coaching friends. But if I'm doing coffee with a coach friend, no money is being made. None. So don't buy into this illusion of like, I'm so action oriented. Be willing to do an action audit and see, are the actions money producing actions, client producing actions? Thank you for that, Johnny. That was fabulous.
Yeah,
And
business, not busyness. I like that.
yeah,
That's good.
that is good. Business, not busyness. And then the other thing I want to say about this is that our thoughts don't in and of themselves make us money. We all have so many good ideas. We're like, oh, that idea, that workshop, that group, that person I could help. Thinking is not a money producing activity. I just want to make sure we're all really clear on that. We got to like actually, the universe rewards action, not thought. I want to say it one more time. The universe rewards action, not thought. So that is, let's see, let's go to the next roadblock outer, Johnny. And I think you ought to take this one.
Real quick, Amrita was saying, so improving my website or writing a post on social media is not a money generating action. So I would say improving your website, not necessarily, could be potentially, and investing a ton of time on it, likely not. Writing a post on social media could be, because that can generate conversation. I remember sitting in the school the first weekend of the first year that I did the school, and Carolyn and Amber Chris were talking about being a trusted source of transformation in your community. And I was thinking, but I don't have a community. What am I supposed to do here with this? And then they said, well, consider that anytime somebody likes a post on social media, like that is a potential connection. That is in a way part of a conversation that is being created. And that opened up my eyes a little bit around, okay, well, there is a conversation that is occurring. There are people I'm connected with, on social media. I don't use social media a lot. And it was just a helpful window for me into the awareness that there's a lot more possibility for conversation and connection in my world than I really thought or knew. And I have created clients from posts that I have made on Facebook before. So it is a possibility. So Amrita, I just wanted to kind of slow that distinction down, because it absolutely, social media can create conversations. It just in and of itself, I think we think, okay, if we're going to make a post and then like that, people will start to ask me about coaching, and then it doesn't really work that way. And there is a way to open up a conversation and get curious with people from that as a starting point.
Absolutely. Posting and running does not create clients or connections. Posting and getting into conversation from someone who comments on your post or likes your post can absolutely create clients. And that's part of the potential work if you like posting. But just posting and running, not going to do it. So great. That was great, Amrita. Thank you for that. Johnny, you want to share the next one?
Sure.
And then we'll both talk about it.
Yeah, not following through with follow up. I'm so curious if anybody else has had this experience. I'm assuming and hoping it's not just me. Well, I know it's not just me. Where you send out an invitation or you're in conversation with someone and then they disappear, they ghost, or they just don't respond, or something like that. Or you attempt to make a connection and then it either you don't get a response or you do, and then you send something back and then it's crickets. And that the space that gets created in the communication gap where like you send something and get nothing back is a very ripe place for my insecurities to fill with all sorts of stories about what that silence means. And it used to be for me, oh, I'm bothering them, they don't like me, they think I'm annoying, like all these other things, or they want nothing, or they didn't like what I had to say, or etc. All these stories that I would fill in. So part of my system became really relying on the context around, no, I'm following up no matter what. Now I want to, I guess, caveat that I'm not I'm aware of like the potential of going overboard or being annoying or anything like that. Like I don't actually want to do that, and my system is not making the silence mean anything, and assuming that, starting with an assumption that they're just busy and my email or communication got lost in the mix. And I one of the things that always helped me really anchor this in is many times I would get a message, someone would email me about something, and then my life would get really busy and it would take me days to respond to them. And the times when they sent me a follow-up and brought it back to my awareness, I would be like, oh yes, right. Thank you so much. I appreciate, you following up with me. Yes, I'll get back to you, etc. My wife, on an extreme example of this, my wife just had a beautiful example of being in conversation with someone really for 9 or 10 months. And there was a fairly significant amount of delays in communication that would come up. And it took about 10 months of connecting and just staying in the conversation, the system of staying in the conversation and assuming positive intent, essentially, that okay, they were busy and not making it mean anything. And then 10 months later it turned into a payday for her. So I'm not saying that's always the case and always to stay in a conversation that long. And it's just an example of like, if we can create a system of staying committed to the conversation.
Yes.
And not making the silence mean anything and just continuing to stay in the conversation, then that can really open up a lot.
Well, let's just get real, right? So Elsie stayed committed to being in that conversation and serving that person. It took 9 or 10 months. And what was the payday? Was it around 10K? Was it
20K?
20K. Mm-hmm. She stayed in the conversation. She did not drop out. So look at that financial roadblock. If she had not continued to follow up, 20K would not have landed in her bank account. It's such a great example of sometimes people's lives are squirrely and tricky. And Johnny is highlighting, we don't want to make that mean something about us. And, the way I like to think about this, and it's a great story, and bravo to you, Elsie, for staying in the conversation and not dropping out of it. Because I know many coaches that would have bailed thinking, oh, they're done, or they don't like me, or they would have made it mean something, right? So bravo to you. And Steve Chandler says, are we willing to risk offending in the name of serving? So I'm a little different than Johnny. I think it's actually okay to risk annoying someone, right? And I say that loosely, right? Because it's like, I'm willing to risk annoying someone in the name of serving them. And chances are the thought that we're annoying is not accurate for what's happening over there. And Johnny, everyone sort of falls into, I would say, two camps. And maybe people can share in the comments which camp they fall into. They fall into risking, they're overly concerned with being annoying, or you don't think you're annoying at all. And maybe you are following up 5% too much, maybe 5%, but not even 100%. And then I want to hear, because most of us are in the camp of, ooh, if I follow up, am I annoying? Am I being annoying? Right? And we're making up stories about being annoying. Now, there's one common denominator in both of those stories, whether I'm overly invested in I'm annoying, so therefore I won't reach out to this person, or, hey, it's all good, I'm just going to serve, right? There's a common denominator there. Can anyone guess what it is? Johnny, can you guess what it is? Can we have Johnny come back, Mr. John Jones?
Is it service? Is that what you're
No.
getting at?
No. That's okay. Can we have both of us up, John Jones? Okay. There's a common denominator there. And it's me. So I'm the common denominator. So when I'm thinking like, oh God, am I annoying? Oh, maybe I shouldn't send this email. I'm making it about me. And then on the other side, even if I'm like, I'm not annoying, it's still about me, right? Like, it's like, what would serve? What would serve in this moment is the question that we want to be asking. So it's like, what would serve? Not, am I being annoying? That is not a high level question. It's not. It's one of the lowest level questions you could ask yourself. I like that you assume, hey, James, I like that you assume that people like you. I assume people think like me, which is great. Self-focused, very afraid of being annoying. I see that. I'm in the camp of not wanting to bother. That's another one, right? Oh, I don't want to bother people, right? So that financial roadblock, as Taylor Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift says, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Right. Thank you. Yeah, got it. And it's true.
Got to bring Taylor Swift in.
That's right.
I want to just slow down a distinction that you're making there, because I think when we're focused on service, it's easier to get out of the story of I'm being annoying than if I'm focused on, hey, is this person going to become a client? Because it's a different place that I'm coming from, and it's a lot easier to step out of, oh, I'm bothering them, when I'm really asking the question, how can I most be of service, or how can I create impact or be of support? And that's where I'm coming from as I'm considering sending the email. And that was a shift for me also, because, earlier there was a lot of like, is this person going to become a client? How do I finagle it or strategize or say the right things, et cetera, so that, I can make sure that, there's the best chance of them becoming a client, and then really shifting out of that into, no, my intention truly is to be of service, and trusting that place that I'm coming from is real and as pure as possible. And however they receive it is not my business.
That's right. And that's why Steve Chandler says, I'm willing to risk offending in the name of serving. Okay. So let's say 5% of people might get offended, annoyed, bothered. I can live with that. If 95% of the people are like, oh, that was so helpful, thank you, I had completely it's just, my kid got sick, whatever it is, right? So I offer that, even if you're in self-involved thinking called I'm bothering, annoying, whatever your story is, maybe 5%. So can you tolerate 5% of people being offended or annoyed? I think we can. And I think it's important that we consider that possibility. So let's see what we got. I think there are some people in here I saw very afraid of annoying. So Ken, I want you to annoy people 2% more, or risk annoying people 2% more. I don't want you to actually annoy people, but I want you to risk annoying people 2% more in the name of serving. right? It's in the name of serving. Who else? What else we got? And serving in that conversation. I love that. Veronica Alweiss is here, fabulous coach. She said, serving in the conversation versus strategizing, right? Because strategizing can have kind of a all about me thing happening, right? It's like, I'm thinking, what can I say that will best serve me getting this client? Now, I'm going to give you a preview. We're not done here. You all have, because we started late, we all have 15 more minutes, right? So we got 15 more minutes, but I'm going to give you a little forecast that next week's live is going to dig into this whole thing of when you're communicating with clients, are you in strategy mode or get mode or it's about me mode? So we're going to dig in next week. I'll reveal the title of next week's in a little bit, but I want to give you a heads up because we're starting to creep into that, right? It's like, oh, because what's happening sometimes when we're communicating is we're occurring as it's about us, right? And that could be annoying to someone, right? It's like we want to learn how to serve in a way that lands as all about the other person in a genuine way. That's really what Johnny's talking about. It's like genuineness, realness, no strategy, no like, sharky kind of slimy get. So, and many of you might be like, oh, I'm good, Carolyn. I don't slime. I don't shark. I'm like, unless someone's looking at your communications regularly, it could be in there. I just offer that to you, especially if you've never had anybody look at them. And we're going to make an offer about that before we complete today. But if you've never had a coach look at any of your emails or texts or communications, that is a huge area of opportunity. But I want to go back to what Johnny's saying. So what's the antidote from your point of view on the follow-up piece? Just follow up?
Yeah, when in the school we talk about the process of invitations and in the handout on invitations that you have in your book, the Total Coaching Success that we use in the school. There's a process, and it essentially says send out the invitation, and then within 48 hours, if you don't hear back, then send a follow-up, send a question mark email or a follow-up email. And that always stuck in my mind as the system. Like, that's it, right? It's like, I don't make the 48 hours mean anything. I don't make it, even if I let it go to 72 hours, I don't let it mean anything. It's just the system is, okay, I haven't heard anything. It's been 48 or 72 hours. I send a follow-up. There's no judgment about it. There's no question about it. And that's me staying committed to the conversation. So I always love that because it's simple. It's easy. It's like, nope, 48 hours, 72 hours. I send a follow-up and that's it.
Beautiful.
And that's my system.
I love that system. And I love that system. It's great, right? Because it came from the school, which actually was a system someone else gave me. It was like, hey, you don't hear from someone, send the question mark email. And I was like, oh, but the question mark email might annoy someone or it might offend them. And they were like, what do you mean? Like, you're making a question mark mean that you're annoying? All you're doing is like creating curiosity. Not that many question marks though. One thing.
Just one.
Yeah, we only recommend one in the subject line. And I know that our director is doing that for emphasis. One question mark in the subject line when someone doesn't respond. And then it's just, hey, did you see? You may not have seen this. So I wanted to make sure you got it. It's innocent. What I love about Johnny's whole section on this is it's innocent, right? I'm going to practice innocence and not make what other people are doing mean anything about me, right?
We're assuming positive intent.
Assuming positive intent. Fantastic. All right. So we have another financial roadblock to give you, an outer roadblock. Ready? A messy money life is a financial roadblock. Now, I'm not talking about your inner relationship with money. That's a real thing too. And we dive into that a lot. This is about the outer. Unpaid bills, late bills, debt, like lots of debt. Just not handling your financial life, like ignoring stuff or forgetting stuff. Like, oh, my Apple, if it's not on a subscription, it's like whatever it is, if you're not managing your money life well, that will be a financial roadblock. It will be a roadblock in many ways. Number one, when we have that kind of messiness going on externally in our money life, then we're more reticent to make investments in ourselves, right? Then we're like, oh, I can't afford a coach. I can't afford a school. I can't afford a group, because your money life is a mess. And that's important, right? Because clients don't come to us because they want someone who manages their money as messily as we do, right? They're not like, ooh, great, Johnny. I want Johnny to be my coach because his financial life is a mess and I will feel better to have someone whose money life is like me, right? No, no, no. We don't hire coaches that way. We hire coaches who have their lives together, right? We don't have to be perfect. That's not the thing. But having, like, if you have, like, there's a quote that I love. Don't help me make my bed if you can't make your own, right? So, like, you have lots of debt, messy bill paying, whatever it is, outstanding debts, things you forgot about. Those need to get handled. Now, can they be handled simultaneously while you're growing your business? Absolutely. Johnny's got the best story there is for that, right, Johnny? I mean, you really took that on.
Yeah. I had a tremendous amount of debt. I had I was singing. I think you've used this before, but the whole like la 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 la. I'm not paying attention. I want nothing to do with this. Like just that relationship with my money of just hoping and wishing and in the process just kind of swiping and using my credit cards for everything, and got into a tremendous amount of financial trouble, and then needing to become a trusted steward of my money. There's a book I love called The 7 Stages of Money Maturity. And just specifically the context of, oh, well, there you go. He's so quick with that. I don't know if I would recommend it as like the best book on money out there. And I loved this concept of becoming mature with my money and having a mature relationship with my money, where I was treating it with respect, treating it with time and attention, and willing to engage with it, even if there were discomforts and things like that around it. And that was remarkably helpful for me.
And what do you see as the relationship, Johnny, of cleaning all that up and then having, like, creating more financial success in your business?
I mean, there's, I think, a practical and then also potentially spiritual context around that of just like, practically speaking, just the stress around it and the stories around, like, just, my inner kind of experience was just more relaxed, and that just made it a lot easier. Also to have conversations about money and not be afraid of it. And then, from the spiritual, emotional perspective of just being a really healthy steward with money, like I could be trusted with more. And that just kind of being on the table, which I really appreciate it. And I developed that trust. Like that, it took me a while to develop that trust. And there's a satisfaction and a respect that I have for that, that process of building that muscle.
What I love about that, Johnny, is that I want to hone in on a word you used. And I think this word applies in all of the antidotes: maturity, right? So there's money maturity, there's time maturity, there's action maturity, right? It's all there. So to me, maturity around your money life is important as a professional coach. Number one, because clients want our help with their relationship with money, the inner and the outer. But the other thing is that the antidote is looking and getting accurate with your financial life, right? It's like, that's the antidote. That's what Johnny did, which to me, he did with great willingness and great. He's a huge role model in the school because he almost always talks about this at the school with the coaches. He's so open about sharing about what occurred for him financially, the challenges he had. You know, we always rave about Sherry. Now I'm blanking on her last name.
Sherry Roseski.
Sherry Roseski, who is an amazing financial coach who's been in the school, who Johnny and his wife used and had tremendous results with because she's
still use.
Yeah, you guys still use her.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it takes maturity to be willing to look at your messy money life, right? And it takes willingness. And the antidote is doing it. Financially successful coaches are willing to look at their blind spots. They are, and they're willing to take action on them. It's significant and it's really important. So we're going to turn to the bonus roadblock. Okay. We have a bonus outer roadblock that we want to share with you. And the bonus outer roadblock, I talked about this a little bit in one of my videos before we did this live. It's stopping and starting. It's stopping and starting, like literally. And I mean this, like, coaches will have one or two conversations and get excited, or they'll get a client. You know, it's like stopping and starting would look like after Johnny's wife finally got that client. She got the 20K in her bank account and she was like, woo, I did it. Whoo, that was a lot of work. I'm just going to rest for a while, right? I'm just going to rest. I don't need to have conversations for a while. I don't even need to try to get another client for a while. This happens all the time. Like, coaches get one or two, maybe three clients and they take their foot off the gas. They're like, I'm good. Ooh, that was exciting and amazing. Like, I'm fine. Stopping and starting stops the flow of clients. It stops the flow of money. It stops the flow of connection. It stops the flow of everything. And what happens for coaches again and again is then they need to start all over. They're like, oh, I got to get more conversations on my calendar. Oh, I need to have more connections. Momentum actually matters, right? When we start connecting and serving and being in the flow of that, momentum begets momentum. Like, it all works together. So when we stop that, it all breaks apart. So stopping and starting is not a useful system if that's your current system. And we want to invite you into a system of keep going. Don't stop. Don't take your foot off the gas. Don't look up and be like, oh, I got 3 or 4 clients. I'm good now. You're not good if you actually want a baseline of 10 or 12. If you're like, I want a full practice, I want 10 to 12 clients. You're not done until you have 10 to 12 clients. You're not done connecting. You're not done with your conversations. It's like you might be onboarding a client while you're starting to connect with someone else. That is all part of the system, right? So if your current system is, I'm going to stop, I just need a break, we want to dissolve that. So if you're a stop and a starter, you can put it in the comments. Momentum is magic, right? I love that you said that, Emmerich. Momentum is magic. That is a great way to look at it. Thank you for sharing that. Guilty as charged, a couple people have written, so I acknowledge you stopping and starters. Here's what we want to do. So before we complete, we want to honor the timeline of 75 minutes. I want to share 2 things. Johnny and I have developed a handout with all the roadblocks, the inner ones and the outer ones. If you want this handout, message Johnny or message me or email one of us and we will send you the handout. It's a full handout. It is 4 pages long. It has more than what we talked about. We got the book up, but I know John Jones is trying to get the handout up so that you can see it, right? He's so good. Nope, but we'll get there. While he's doing that, what I'm going to say to you is, you want the handout, email us or message us, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is, right, I want to share with you what our next live is going to be about. So you ready? Serving with substance versus slime, mastering communication as a professional coach. So this is all about your texts, your emails. Coaches write a lot. And I'm going to be bold here. I don't care if you're using Chat GPT, because Chat GPT still has a very strange quality that feels a little icky and weird. Like when coaches post their emails in the Facebook page, where we review them and give them coaching, I can usually suss out when it's been generated by Chat GPT. And I'm like, something feels weird. This feels non-human. So I want to put that out there. So what we want to offer to you, and John Jones, if you can bring us back to Johnny and I, that would be great. What we want to offer to you is you can utilize Johnny or myself. If you've never had a coach look at a communication of yours, whether it's a text to someone or an email invitation or just a connecting communication, you can message one to us or email one to us, and we open that up. Right? If you're like, oh, I've never had anybody look at my stuff, you can send us 1 or 2, no more than 2, because we want to be able to serve you, right? So feel free to send us that in a message or an email message or a direct message via Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, right? I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, so you could message me at any of those places. We will be here next week serving with substance versus slime. It will be an entirely new 75 minutes, and we can count on the fact that we will start earlier than we did this time because we thought we were live. So our technical difficulties will be handled. I want to thank John Jones, our digital media director. Look, he's got the handout. Look at him.
Right.
Thank you, John Jones. This is the handout that's coming your way if you email us or you message us. We acknowledge you for being here today, and go pay the rent, take your antidotes, go take action. Anything else you want to say, Johnny?
Yeah, action. Now it's putting it into practice. That is really what it's all about.
That's right. See you next week. Thanks for being here. And if you watch the recording, you can still ask for the handout. See you later.
Take care.
I can do it. Keep going. See ya.